right.
Showtime.
Good morning, everybody. It's 8:01. Kent Hutchinson will not be joining us today. And as chair, he asked me to conduct today's meeting. And we're just going to get right into it.
Roll call.
Roll call. Alex Zacharias, vice chair.
Pooja Weller, Commissioner.
Randy Scannell, Commissioner.
Laura Schley, staff.
All right. So approval of...
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Oh, yes.
I second.
Second. All right. So all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. All those nay?
Nick, go.
All right.
Still early.
It's been approved. So communications.
Do we have to approve the agenda?
Yeah.
Oh, let's approve the agenda. Today's agenda, please.
Motion to approve the agenda.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? All right, that's been approved.
I did it backwards, we should have done
We have to do another approval of the minutes from September 27th.
And approval from minutes of September
it.
27th.
No, we haven't done that yet.
I think we did it
That's the-
backwards.
Yeah, we did.
That's the agenda, and then that's the minutes.
Right, but we did the minutes first.
Oh, we did?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did. Yeah.
I did it backwards.
Okay.
I haven't looking, sorry.
Then we're doing the agenda.
Then we're on to communications. There isn't today. Old business, update on rotating arts program.
So, Rotating Arts Program, finally getting our cement pads placed. I went out with Corey, she's with Parks Department, so we've actually gone and sprayed and staked the locations. I have them mapped out. There's 7 locations set. My little sticky notes are a rough estimate of where they're gonna be. The only 2 locations that are still kind of up in the air is Light Park. Originally, we were in the parks
Right.
area, but now we're moving it closer to the road, so it's gonna be more visible. So that has to go back to INS to be approved at the November meeting. And then the other one that we are looking to move, the 2 that are being debated over are what you have, Alex.
You know,
That.
I'll get it. I do the same thing. People have to pour my, okay, people have to pour my coffee for me because otherwise I do the same
That's so
thing.
stupid. And on camera too.
Yeah.
Sorry, Laura.
Oh, it's okay. The 2 that are being debated on yet was Light Park and then also Irwin and
Oh,
North Shore over by Bay Beach.
Okay.
We're just looking to move it to a flatter area, more visible, not quite on the corner, because they're actually thinking about putting a sign there down the road. I think it's a better move, so just waiting on those 2.
So there shouldn't be any issues of, it's probably going to go forward without...
Yeah,
any
it's still
issues.
on Parks land. We just had to get approval from the
Oh,
park director.
Mhm.
Yep, so those 3 little kind of like stars, those are the 3 locations that, I don't really have a preference for which one, just one of those 3 preferably.
Mhm.
But that's actually like close to the road, so you can see it.
yeah.
and this one's further down, isn't it?
Yep, it's actually kind of right next to the sidewalk that goes
That goes
next to
down.
the river. Which
So this is
talking,
probably the most undesirable position.
actually, after talking with Corey, she was saying that they're hoping to put an art walk along the river, so it could
Oh,
be the
really?
beginning of an art walk
Wow.
down the road, which is kind of nice.
Interesting.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Is that going to be through the commission, that art walk? Is that something?
Yeah.
separate?
That I'm not entirely sure if Parks is gonna be handling that, 'cause that is, as it goes down that way, it is.
Okay,
That could be something that they come to us down the road to kind of discuss.
I think that might be nice.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering where the funding, is there funding for that already? I'm just curious, for the art walk.
That I'm not sure.
It's just on top.
It's very just beginning stages of planning,
Okay.
but it could be a nice way to sort of kick it off. And then we also have one applicant for our Rotating Art Program, which we're gonna talk to later today. So that's exciting.
Mhm.
And then Celestine and I are actually working on the insurance part of the rotating arts program.
Right.
We're gonna be meeting with Vincent, Raven, and Walker on November 1st, to discuss insurance for that.
So basically saying that the artists do not need to bring their own insurance to the game, but rather that we will be insuring?
No,
Okay.
that we will provide a funding for the artists to go get their own insurance.
Oh, so it's like a bucket, like, or a, because basically you're saying that they need to pay for it.
Yes, but we will give them the money to pay for it.
So part of the application is that
Yes,
you'll get the usual funding, in addition you'll get funding for insurance.
correct.
And are we going to suggest insurers or?
So, we're just gonna go to Vincent Urban Walker, because I think the question's gonna be, hey, where could I go? I mean, they could always go to their own insurance company, their homeowners or renters insurance, and see if they can get business insurance through that. But then, we would be able to suggest, why don't you check out Vincent Urban Walker, but we can't say, you should go here.
Right. So I wonder if there was a way, if we could get an insurer on board that could just make it like an easy one where it's like, okay, this pad, this location for an art piece, and it's like up to a certain amount, this piece would be, any piece that goes on here would be insured, so that because most artists get spooked because they're thinking, oh great, now I have to learn insurance, right? As
Sure.
opposed to mark this box here if you would like to get insurance.
So, they could do that, I think that's what Laura and I need to
Figure it
explore.
out, yeah.
Places that they can go with someone, some non-city entity, and tell them,
Yeah.
yes, we've discussed this with, your arts coordinator, here's what you're looking for,
Right.
and here's all the paperwork for you to go ahead and make that happen. So like, for
Right.
instance, at the Culinary Kitchen, if you come and you want to be a business working out of the Culinary Kitchen, they will say, here's the kind of insurance that you need.
Right,
So
exactly.
and that's the model that I have in my head, but the
Yeah.
Culinary Kitchen isn't insuring it.
No, exactly. So then if they mark the box here, a third-party person will contact them. I thought that would make it
Yeah.
a little easier for them.
And like I said, I think we should encourage them to go look at their own homeowner's insurance, to see if they could get, and I don't know that the homeowner's insurance, that the homeowner's insurance doesn't cover them, but rather their insurance agent may be able to direct them.
them,
Yeah.
yes.
And most artists, I myself included when I first started, is we're not business savvy.
No,
So
Yeah.
those are all
Right.
those kind of things they have to learn.
Exactly.
And I think that's,
Exactly.
something Laura and I discussed, building capacity amongst the artists who participate.
One question, why, is there a reason financially or for city?
Yes.
and county? Okay,
Yes.
that's all I'm asking.
I would
So
imagine.
the
different
short
fee,
answer,
yeah, yeah.
Right.
yes.
Liability.
Yes, like we could actually, if we own the pieces, so in the annual grants
Right.
program, then
Right.
they would be covered under our insurance
Right.
with some caveats, but not many.
No.
But since these are pieces that we do not own,
Right.
that's the issue.
It's specifically for the rotating arts.
Yes.
That's where, and that's the biggest barrier to submission. Because once they get to that insurance part, most artists start to freak out because this is more of a, they're not at that level yet, potentially, to even want to get a business insurance, let alone make themselves a business. So that's the barrier that I've seen every time that I've gone out there and tried to get people on board. So I don't know if there's a way for us to simplify the process. It's right. If we can have a little list that we can put out there, or maybe it's third party, right? Because it cannot come from the city, right?
That's right.
Right. So it has to say.
Because then that person would have to be a vendor.
Right.
I think.
Exactly.
I know some
They have to
insurance
go through
people I
some
could ask, because
proofing.
their art's leaning. There's insurance of the piece, and if it's $10,000, that's easy. Or it's
Right.
liability, that's a general
Yeah.
thing. So I
Right.
mean, you have to petition this out as, and that we need to decide what we need on that too, but that.
Exactly.
What are your insurance, what you can't afford to lose? Well, the piece is worth a certain amount. The
Yeah.
liability for slipping and sliding on the sidewalk, well, that's city, that's.
Yeah, but if somebody
Yeah.
injures himself,
from
On the
thing.
piece.
yeah,
Right.
So, but I'll see if I can talk to.
Right.
that'd be great.
Has anybody done anything as far as insuring? I'll
I do
actually, I'll
believe
try
that
to do
Kent
that.
did reach out to his insurer.
I think we both have State Farm.
Right.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
what did his insurance agent say?
That State Farm could do
Yeah.
something like that. She's actually my insurance person too. So
Huh.
Tiona did mention, I used to work with her at Shopko. So she did mention that there is something there that State Farm could do,
Mhm.
but of course they need more scope. Like what exactly is, like get down to the nitty gritty
Mhm.
because they can go general to a certain point. So they've done stuff like this before. But I wonder if there's a way for us to make it easier for the artists. So like have a State Farm flyer laying around, or direct them to talk to Kent or to you or to you, and then you guys could direct them to somebody.
I think Kent mentioned there was other organizations that have that language.
Exactly, in there. Okay, so the question is whether or not, to what extent is it a city organization? Because if it's a nonprofit that's freestanding outside the city, that's different.
Which is a nonprofit?
Any arts
Right.
organization
Okay.
that
And whether that
commissions
language
art.
may fit.
Yeah, but
Right.
we need one that's specifically for an arts commission through a city. So Milwaukee would be a good one. I think Madison has one. So trying to see what language that they put.
Mhm.
Well, they'd have to have rotating arts programs.
That's the other part.
I mean,
That's
if-
also
if
completely
it's a city-owned sculpture,
unique.
then
Yeah,
we're covered, but,
yeah. It's only when it's not,
yes.
if it's just that spot, exactly.
If it's not ours. So, I mean, this would be a great space for the art garage to also occupy, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
So any additional conversations on this?
I'm feeling good.
Okay. So, number 2 in the old business, update on WPS.
The RFP is out.
Right.
Yeah, I'm still working on sending it out more, but I sent that email to you guys, so hopefully you can
Yeah.
share it too.
Yeah.
I have a whole list from Ann Katz that I'm gonna kind of send it out to those. I did kind of just send out like almost basically a cold call email. I sent it to a bunch of artists. And I actually talked to, I'm gonna mess up her name, Rimanessa Amoros. She's a sculptor in New York, and she does light sculpture, and she is it's very impressive. So I'll send you guys a link to her website later on so you can check it out, but it's cool stuff. Basically though, kind of the downside of that, she said I would definitely apply for this if I knew that it was a for sure thing,
Yeah.
or like
Right.
that she had a little bit more of an edge above other people, I guess, but we can't provide that, so, but she still has
Morning.
great stuff.
I
Right.
apply for something that, like,
We're not-
okay, I'll apply for this, but I need to know I'm gonna get it first.
Yeah, we're not getting into that space again.
No.
Yeah.
We're not doing that again.
So she's reached out to me. I
How
have
processes work.
2 other people though who also said like, oh, like we'll check into it, and so I'm just gonna apply. So
Mhm.
it's
I love that.
exciting.
Yeah, I should say that
First.
from now on.
Thank you. My giant mom bag.
I have a question on this. Where exactly is it?
Where it can be located there. That I think we're gonna kind of leave up to the artist.
so-
because it's that whole sidewalk.
It's that whole, it's a sidewalk, well, it's.
The upper
it's-
level?
Yeah, the upper level, and go down the steps, that stop there.
Right there?
Yep, because then the other part is the right of way.
Okay. Is there a way to highlight that just by circling so that
Yeah, I
people
can
kind of
change
have
the
a general
image.
idea? Because I was like, whoa. If someone starts thinking about this and they want to submit a proposal, they're going the wrong way, or they're going up on the building or
The
something.
piece is still listed at 25 by 25.
Yep.
It
I
could
know.
be moved
Our-
throughout there, but I can.
We'll definitely require people to read every single thing before they start thinking. But if you just draw a circle, visually, that will help people understand.
And really, it would end up being a trapezoid.
Yeah,
Because
a trapezoid.
it's, yeah.
Yeah, let's
Yep.
do a trapezoid.
And I'm sure WPS is gonna have input, or they're gonna have conversations with the artist. No.
We have the final
Yeah,
authority.
we have the-
Pass it out to us.
Yeah.
Okay,
We, you know, obviously, we want to have a good relationship with
Right.
them, and so we definitely want to run something, our final 3 by them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
any further discussion?
That's the update on that.
And 3. Discussion with possible action amending the GD PAC ordinance to include liaison.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so included is the draft ordinance that Joe has helped write up. Basically, everything in the ordinance is the same except the part about liaisons. So it's the full part, if you want to read that over. Parts that are non-negotiable is having 3 liaisons, no more, no less.
Yeah.
That's
Also,
non-negotiable.
nope.
Okay.
And then also.
I thought that's what we wanted to negotiate.
Mayor appointing.
We can't have more liaisons than members, and we can't have an equal number of liaisons and members.
Right, we need
Since
that.
liaisons don't vote.
Right.
So 3, if we have 5
That-
members,
Yeah, so you have 4 or 4.5.
3's good.
So right now, we have Beth, we have you, and we
Lee.
have Mosaic.
Right,
Okay.
we have it, performing humanities,
Okay.
visual.
So then we do have to communicate, if you could, with the art garage that we're not gonna be needing them to send anyone. They haven't really brought anyone to the table that I see anyway. We've had plenty of opportunities, so we need to let them know that they're not gonna be bringing, I mean, that the cap has been met.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And it specifies length of time, term, and such for his liaison,
Yeah.
which is 2 years, is it?
Mm-hmm, right.
So we're in year 1.
We're just ending the.
We're just ending your month.
So we're going to do 2 years.
Starting today.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you. I mean, we could certainly say that it's already been a year, although for the liaisons, it hasn't quite been a year.
Right.
And we could say, okay, so we're going to do this again 18 months from now, or a year from now, which is actually less than the 2-year term. Or let's just say it's 2 years from now. So you don't want to do less than 2 years, you could do what we already got, which is like 18 more months, or you could do,
Could it be a running thing? So it's not that the whole liaison group, after 2 years, we've got to have to find all 3 new positions?
Correct, right.
So,
Lee
like,
just
if
came
Beth
on, so,
Right,
yeah.
exactly. So, you know, as his term is up, then that's just 1 seat to
Yeah,
fill. That's a
that's
lot
right.
I won't say easier, because it's not, than having to find 3 new people from the arts, the humanities, and music.
Totally, all you need to do
Yeah.
is to decide on when each person's term started
Mhm.
and how you want to calculate that
The
2
2
years.
years from that
And then I'll
date.
just give it to Deanna and
Mhm.
Mary, who
Yeah.
handle that, and we
Yeah.
can move forward.
Okay.
I'm for just starting 2 years. I mean, let's just start.
From the
right?
day
Yeah.
they are,
No, from now,
Oh.
coming up.
oh, yes,
So-
okay.
So-
But then that doesn't avoid what Pooja said, that means we have to get 2 people, 3 people all at once.
Right, so so basically, since
So
Beth has
not
been here
overlap.
Oh,
already,
okay.
right?
Yeah, I
So
see.
it's 2 years from the day that person started with the commission. I think that might be best.
Okay.
So that we always have somebody.
Yeah, you know,
So Beth, when did you start?
I think either May or April. I
Let's-
can't remember which, I'd have to go back and look at my calendar, what the
Okay.
Oh,
first.
close enough.
And Lee, your first meeting was
summer, I
August?
believe.
I'm gonna say August.
Midsummer.
June. Okay, June,
July.
I think it was July.
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 That was my first meeting.
And then,
There we go.
That's performing, and then
Stacy.
let's do Stacy.
The same, weren't you guys at the same?
I
You
think it
were-
was the same.
Yeah.
Let's stagger, let's say May.
So it's easy.
for visual. Okay, so 2
Awesome.
years from those days. Okay,
Yes.
I got it.
Right, then.
Now, our current liaisons, have they been approved by the mayor? Did they-
No, because we
I
just
didn't
kind
think
of
that-
added them, so
Right, I
we
didn't
need to
think we-
actually
Do the
make the
process.
appointment,
Mhm.
term ending 2 years from these dates, and then we're good to go.
Yeah. Awesome.
Is there term limits on this? I don't see that. Sometimes
No,
you have an interest in,
none.
okay, it shouldn't be.
I thought
Somebody
it
wants
was
to
I thought it was a
stay.
life
Yeah.
sentence.
Unless you want to get rid of somebody, that's the downside of it.
And then, really, these are ex officio, so, because we
Right.
want someone from these 3 aspects of what we're
Right.
doing here. And so,
Exactly.
we want to continue
That relationship.
having those people, and, there might be, if Stacy, can't do it, then maybe someone from her organization, maybe someone from Art Garage,
Right.
there's lots of
Visual
performing
arts,
artists,
yeah.
there's plenty of people in the humanities, because it's a burgeoning field. That's what my husband does, so it's a burgeoning field. So, yeah, I think that would be good.
Okay, any further discussion on this?
When you say no voting, I mean, I know a lot of this is gonna be doing the, even just doing the request for.
The rubric?
This thing, I mean, because you're gonna see some spread, I can give you some back,
Yeah.
feedback on whether it's the statistics and stuff, but is that a vote or not a vote? That might be important to some people, it's not important to me, but how that's represented, or when we say voting, it's,
I don't consider that a vote, I consider
No.
that input.
Right.
okay, or it could be,
The
here's
rubric
my
is-
expertise on whatever, and hopefully you can take it or leave it, I don't care.
Voting, I think, is more, has to do with whether or not we want to pass certain, like when we, there's 5 of us, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that actually hold commission seats.
Okay,
So those 5 run the administrative part of this with Laura. So that's the voting right that we're
okay.
talking about. This is the
It's just not
scoring,
clear to,
yeah.
if
Right,
I'm
yeah,
looking
yeah.
recruiting somebody for this
Right.
position, what are you gonna do?
Right,
Yeah.
and this has
And,
more to
this
do
is-
with scoring a project or a piece,
Okay.
or rather, so that we have, because you are the professional in your field. So if a person comes in and has a performance, like the teacher that wanted to do the performance and we suggested outside, and you went through and you knew in your mind specifically, hey, this is not gonna work out, and you graded something weak or average or excellent, then, we'd be able to say, wow, what did you see that we did not see? However, with the, the nitty gritty, like, okay, whether we're gonna approve the agenda, approve the minutes and all, that's that voting right.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
you don't need that other petty stuff. We need you for the solid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We need
that's
your
fine.
input.
I'm just saying, as the document,
Industry
if you're gonna
input.
recruit, what's in your bylaws, what's this for? What are you recruiting me to do? And
Right, so
and,
it's a
uh,
lot more clear to
all right.
you too.
Correct.
Yeah. So we are at number,
So we just did the old business number 3, and
do we have to approve the change that we've made?
the 2 years.
Yep.
Yes.
Do you
So,
want a term of 2 years?
Is that what we decided, 2
Yep.
years?
Yes, from the day that person starts.
Started.
Yes. I mean, sometimes that chair might be empty for a bit until we find somebody, so it's from the day that they start. Mhm.
So what are we proposing, and who's going to propose it?
I make a motion that we adopt the new language in the ordinance.
I second that.
All those approve,
Aye.
and all those against? All right.
Let's miss it out.
Laura, any questions on that?
You good? Okay.
New business. Discussion with possible action on the mural project proposed by the Green Bay Bicycle Collective.
I think at this point, we actually have to open the
Yep,
floor.
motion open the floor.
Motion up on the floor.
I second that.
All those who approve?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, floor is open.
All right.
Morning, everybody.
Morning. So,
You want us
you
to
need to-
approach? You want us to sit?
Yeah, come join us just for a minute.
Yep.
You do have to
Whatever's
state your
comfortable.
name
And address.
and address, please.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
So much nicer than yesterday.
Did you bike here?
I did not. I had 2
I asked that question
Yeah. Woo, I tried yesterday and that was a fail. Heather Gentry, 249 Kenny Street, Green Bay, 55301. President of the Green Bay Bicycle Collective.
I'm Kimberly Schwarzenbart. My address is 2210 South 42nd Street, Manitowoc, 54220, and I'm the potential artist.
So we're proposing, the Green Bay Bicycle Collective is leasing a city property downtown on 4th Street for pennies. And it is a garage, about 30 by 30 feet. It's gray cinder block building. Kimmy would like to paint a mural on it. It's visible from the Mason Street overpass, from Broadway, not so much from the other side where the residential or the houses are. We've been there for a month, the neighbors, and we've just had wonderful feedback from the neighbors. Every time we're there, they show up and hang out and talk and while we're working, and so far, everything's going really well. But yeah, Kimmy has a design and would like to paint a mural on the side, and we think it would be beautiful.
So I think there's kind of like a copy floating around. The general idea would be to like highlight Green Bay. So major landmarks like Titletown, I'm a UW Green Bay student, so like the campus, Cochran Library, farmers markets, that type of thing. So kind of more, I guess, simplified buildings, nothing too crazy. And then kind of highlight the Fox River and the boats and everything, as well as the bikes, because it is the Green Bay Bicycle Collective. So kind of like a large old school bike on one side, and then on the back kind of highlighting the trails and everything, because Green Bay has like such opportunities. It's a pretty town and everything, so.
Tell me a little bit more about color, or what do you envision?
I'm envisioning kind of with the Fox River side, kind of like, the blues, greens, that type of thing, probably more blue, green, black. I don't really want to go and shade everything. It'll be a little bit more abstract than that.
Okay.
I was thinking maybe an accent color like a peach, but kind of in the works with that. So.
And how long do you think it would take you to put this together?
It really depends. I worked as a chalk artist on the Green Bay campus for a couple years, so I'm really used to working big, and I'm used to working quickly. So I would do those in about 2 to 3 hours, but paint is a little bit different. So I guess with that scale, it's a little bit harder to predict, but
Weatherproof,
yeah.
it's getting tired.
True.
I mean, that paint to cure.
And do you have your financing in place and everything?
Yes.
Okay. And so, just to be clear, because I can't see a note in the beginning. So you're looking for a letter of support?
We're
Or-
kind of approving the design, and then after it gets approved by us, it's gonna get sent to RDA for approval of placement. 'Cause it's RDA.
Oh, interesting.
So if we have any like helpful, maybe you should add this into it, or.
Right, they don't own the building, it's a city-owned
Yep,
building.
it's-
That's what
Okay.
they
It's a
need.
city-owned building, that's what,
Okay,
that's not
so
bicycle.
if you
Yeah, yeah.
have
If
our
it was a private
support
building, they
here,
could do.
then they're gonna go to RDA. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's basically letter of support.
Yes.
Okay, I see.
And anything you'd like, or any critique or whatever.
Right.
But I
I think it looks great.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you put a lot of thought into it.
like the big bike.
I do, I love that. That's really beautiful.
So I don't know if you can tell, but this will wrap around the building.
Yes,
to that side.
that's a
Okay.
line right there.
Because
Yeah.
when you're coming off of, when you're going over the Mason Street overpass, you see the back of the building. I wanted
Right.
to highlight that, be like, hey, there's stuff going on over here. And then from Broadway is where you can see the large side there with the bike. It's a small building, but it's really gonna, and there's nothing in front, like, to the side of
That's
us.
pretty open.
Open space. It's really attractive.
And I'm just curious about maintenance, things like that. Will it require much? I'm just ignorant about that.
Well, we have primed the wall. Some of it is chipping, so we're gonna go and sand it and kind of fix that up just to make sure it's really prepared, because that, like, the primer is really essential to keeping that design. As far as the kind of paint, I've been kind of doing some research at Home Depot and everything. It should last as long as it has time to cure, and it can, like, be painted at a temperature where it's really gonna set. So there's a lot of, I guess, techniques to maintain it that way.
It's possible that we'll have to wait till spring.
Yeah.
Because of weather change.
So the collective, so are you part of the collective too?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's a support of the collective.
Because I'm trying
Yeah.
to figure out like how did you find your artists and, you know, because you said you're not from town.
I lived in Green Bay for a long time.
Okay.
So I went to UW Green Bay, I graduated, and I
Mhm.
decided to go back.
Mhm.
So I'm living in Manitowoc, but I'm in Green Bay most of the week.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah.
So you were with Bo, who is
Yeah.
part of. Say this group?
Trackside design.
Yep.
Yeah. We went to school together.
Yeah.
I went to school with Bo too.
Well, most likely will, you know,
We're
if
small.
you ask him on how to do it.
Yep, I did.
Yeah, so he'll be the best person.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Just right away, I was like first person. to ask.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah. Perfect.
So Kimmy came to us because one of our admins or one of our, I guess, board members works at Berners and Schober. And he said, hey, I have a friend who's a muralist and she'd like to put this design on. I'm like, okay. So that's how
Oh,
we
so
came.
it was your brainchild.
Yes.
Yes.
Interesting.
And I met him, I did a lot of like shows in Green Bay this summer and
Mhm.
I displayed a lot of my art and he went to one of them and we talked for a while and he contacted me, so.
I think it's awesome. And it's, yeah, it's got great potential. I mean, as far as community, community involvement, I think is really important, just to get feedback and such. Is there any efforts towards that, a little bit more? I mean, I'm just worried about the neighbor across the street. Oh, God, nobody asked me, you know?
No, so far, all the neighbors that have come to us are pretty much in front of us and to the side of us. We do have some kids that show up every time we're open. They are just really excited that something's going on at that location. It was vacant for 11 years. And, you know, so many things could be going on there, but, you know, the fact that there's a community bike shop, it's just, it's friendly and good feedback. So.
I love the whole idea with the bicycle for health and then arts for our feet and our soul and all that kind of stuff. So that's it's a great combination. Any further discussion on this?
Make a motion to, for the committee to issue a letter of recommendation for the REA. That'd be the motion to make.
That would be the motion to make.
And who's second?
Unless you want to have a little bit more discussion on it, or do you want to do it straight away?
I'm
Okay,
good.
I don't know if Kent wants to put eyes on this too, once, you know.
You
Give him
should be
the-
here then.
I know. But we can have some discussion, or unless we just want to go ahead.
Well, this doesn't sound like it's real time sensitive, right? I mean, you probably won't be doing it till the spring.
Yeah.
So we
depending on the
we
weather.
could hold it.
Our chair isn't here today, so we'd like to get it.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
So next month, we'd be able to,
Yeah, I mean, it's as simple as, you know, if we just send him an email, he can just take a look at that. And then he's gonna love it, it looks great. But just so that he can get his eyes on it. And then we can either do a communication by email.
Cannot,
We cannot.
No.
it's gonna be.
it's a walking corn.
Yeah. We could just hold it until our next meeting. He could look it
Yeah.
over and then we
Okay.
could make a decision at our
Right.
next meeting.
Okay.
So
After-
the next RDA meeting is Tuesday, November 14th. The next GBPAC meeting is the 29th.
Oh, so do we want to get it in before that 14th meeting?
We are just looking-
No, it's the 20, oh, you're scheduled for the 22nd. Probably move that meeting. It's the day before
It's the-
Thanksgiving.
I'm
Wait,
looking at that
Thanksgiving is
too.
the 23rd?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
How confident do you feel that, I mean, what do you think?
About
The weather?
I'm not feeling all that confident about the weather. I feel like,
Yeah.
if anything, it'd be more like the
Because
base
we wanted to
coats
set, we
and-
wanted to, you know.
Yeah, I'd like it
set
to look
properly.
the
So
best that
we
it
will,
can.
we will postpone painting till spring.
Okay.
Right.
Take all the time we need.
Okay.
Mhm.
You're
And
good.
who knows? Might add or subtract from the paint, who knows?
But you can, from our tone, you know.
That we're for it.
Oh, yeah.
It's just we'd like to get.
Even if Kent's against it, he's outvoted, so.
Yeah.
No worries, we just wanted, our property manager just said, no, let's make sure it's approved.
Right.
We understand, sometimes, some art can be controversial, or,
Right.
it could have our logo on it, and that's not allowed, things like that, and we just
It's an
wanted.
advertisement.
Right.
We need to support more women artists, so kudos to you. I think that's so awesome, we need more of that in our community, so.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful piece. I mean, it's very, it's a nod to a lot of what you see in major metropolitan cities. So I think that's going to be a great addition to what we've got going on. It'll definitely bring diversity to what's going on in terms of wall murals in town. So it does not have an animal in it, so I'm super excited to see that. I think it's a great piece. It's really awesome. Well done, yeah.
All right, do I,
I love
Motion to
animals.
hold,
Yeah.
motion to hold
I
this until
second
our
that.
next,
who seconds?
I second it.
All right, all those in favor?
aye.
All those against?
And so then that meeting will be on Tuesday, November 14th?
That's the RDA.
That's the
meeting.
RDA, so, but-
So
And
Oh, that
we're
was-
currently
okay.
scheduled on the 22nd, but
But
hopefully.
we're gonna change that.
Yes.
Probably to the 29th.
Right.
29th, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Ken Ravinsky is our property manager.
Yes.
If it is not gonna occur on the 29th, so we could just let him know. So he
Sure.
can tell us.
Yep.
My office is right next to his.
Oh, good. So then, same time, same place on the 29th.
Yep.
Yes.
Great.
Do they have to be here?
Yeah, and you don't need
You
to
don't
be
need to be
here.
here.
I
No.
mean, you can if you want.
Unless there's a change in the design or something like that.
Right, yeah.
If you wanna-
Because we can notify you that it's a,
Sure.
but I mean, it wouldn't hurt, if you want to be here, that'd be fine.
You could add some color to it. I won't be able to see it. I won't be here. No, I'm moving to Connecticut.
Oh.
Like, I really will not be here at all.
Wow.
So if you could, like, give me something to, like, look, Greeley's cool. It's cool again. Okay.
So do I motion to close the floor now, or?
Well.
Yeah. But well, actually, we should have done that before
Before
we
you
voted on
voted.
it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
We haven't-
I make a motion to close the floor.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you
your
very
time.
much.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Yep.
All right, next, discussion of, action on Brian Betchinger's rotating art program application.
Did he say he was coming today?
Nope, but we're gonna call
Call
him,
him.
because he can come.
Perfect.
So, I have to try and figure this out.
Well, yeah, he does have a full-time job.
Well, that's silly.
Artist and job, is that about right? Oh, I think I drank too much coffee. I'm on his level now.
Working, guys.
Hey!
All right.
Now, we need a motion to open the floor again for something?
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
Motion open,
Yeah.
go ahead, you guys.
did we introduce the item?
Yes.
Okay, motion to open the floor?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against?
Hi, Brian. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right.
We're in business.
Guys, what questions do you
need to
guys?
tell him to introduce himself.
Brian, can you introduce yourself and also state your address?
Brian Eichinger, address 515 East Eagle Terrace, Green Bay, Wisconsin, 54313.
Awesome. I guess, do you guys have, what questions do you guys have about Brian's application or any?
So Brian, can you just fill us in about your project real quickly and just an update, please? This is Alex Zacharias.
Do you want me to explain what I was thinking of how I wanted to build it?
Yeah?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
So what I'm thinking is maybe some 3D cubes, maybe interlocked, and then I was going to run some lighting inside the cube so at night you're able to see them driving by or walking by, and then you're able to just have them all lit, and I think it would be a cool effect on the cubes at night. I think it would look better at night than it would the daytime.
That does sound very interesting. How do you propose, oh, this is Pooja Weller. How do you propose to bring electricity in order to get that lit up?
So I recently did a project for my parents in the backyard. We redid our deck. So I'm able to run them off a low voltage, they're low voltage lights. So as long as I have power of a 120 outlet wherever the sculpture would go, it would be perfectly fine. I can run 4 or 5 lights inside it, and then I'm able to do all the electrical connections because it's just screw-on fittings, so it works perfect that way. And then all I would need is outlet, and then we would just have to have an electrician put an outlet out there or something.
Do any of our locations have electricity?
What about that one at 12th and Mason? Because there was a house there. Is there a street light there? Do you know?
We're just discussing locations right now,
Okay.
where we can actually put you, hopefully.
Yeah.
A power source, and have you ever thought about solar perchance?
That's it.
I haven't thought about it, but it's definitely a consideration. I could look into it and see what I could do.
Right.
Did we also approve a location at Hartung?
No, we haven't. This is our first.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying, did we?
Oh, like location.
Yes. Did we approve a location at Hartung?
It looks like there's a light pole
Yeah.
near it.
Yeah. I would love for it to be lit.
Wouldn't that be
Yeah,
great?
right.
It would look beautiful.
They'd really awesome to have a pad then that actually has light abilities too.
Yeah, so we need to, that's something that we're gonna have to talk to about like today.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, do you have any idea how big you want to make your piece?
I guess that's really up to you guys. I mean, it's really customizable. Whatever size you think would be right for that space, I'm able to make it to that size. I can do, I mean, if you think it should be 4 feet wide by 4 feet tall, I can do that. If you think it needs to be smaller than that, bigger than 4 feet, I mean, it's completely up to whatever the size space I have. I can make it customized to whatever size.
Well, we're definitely gonna need you to make a proposal on that, since this is gonna be your art piece.
Okay.
And you do realize that that the city's not actually buying the piece, but it's, that you're offering us the piece to put out there, so that people can see your art and, you know, and interact with it if they wanted to. But you are aware of that, right?
So I would be donating the piece.
No.
No.
It's your piece.
Yeah.
This is Commissioner Randy. It's your piece, and actually someone could buy it. So you want to kind of keep that in mind, that you're advertising yourself, and you're also advertising the piece. We're displaying it for you. Kind of think of us like a gallery.
Yep, I got it.
Yeah.
And then there's a term limit for the gallery.
It'll be there a year.
One year. And also, so I can see you have a budget here of 1,200. Do you have your financing in place?
I don't have the finance yet, but it was just a rough number because I
Right.
wasn't sure on what avenue I wanted to take this yet.
Right.
And now getting the understanding of how this is all working, it makes a lot more sense for me.
Right.
So,
One of the things is the rotating arts program would be giving you, so the city would be, so this commission will be, if granted, would be giving you, what did we say?
We upped it
It was
$500.
500, yes.
But what would have added up, we upped it 500 more, I thought. It was how
It
much?
was 300.
It was 300.
I don't
Oh,
know
we
if that's
just
gonna
upped it.
change though with the insurance part.
Right.
Oh.
So there is some monies that will be coming from this commission to give it to you in order to install and to deaccession the piece. And so, you know, if you could see how you're financed, you know, if it's a sponsored piece, or if you have, you know, if you would finance it on your own.
yeah.
Right, but the idea in itself is, but I think it's great.
Yeah.
Now I understand your vision, from the.
And I guess I understand what the importance is for getting my name out there. I mean, with starting this a year and a half ago, I mean, to get it in front of more and more people, I think it's beneficial for me just to get it done there. I mean, I can figure out the finances on my end. It's not going to be that big of a deal. So.
Yep, I just wanted you to be aware of that.
Yeah.
The other thing is, It would be really cool if it was solar, but I mean, that's just my personal opinion. That would
Yeah.
really show
Yeah, then you wouldn't be, then we could put it at any corner.
any corner, yeah.
Yeah, otherwise we might be restricted of where it can go.
And if we can start educating the public towards that direction, you know,
And what size do you think would be like a recommend, or like a standard size that you would want to see for this piece? I
Well,
mean,
the pads are,
The pad is 5 feet by 5 feet,
right.
with
Okay.
about a foot of gravel around it.
Mhm.
oh, I didn't know about the gravel.
I don't know.
Huh.
Brian, I really think that you might have to come to us with a size scope, just so that, because this is truly supposed to be your vision. So I think that might be important, an important piece of this.
with the pad that I have, is it a concrete pad? Am I able to drill into the
Yes.
concrete to secure this down?
Absolutely,
Okay,
yes. If
okay,
you
that's
have,
perfect.
if you have any more technical questions on the actual location or or where your art's going to be put on, you can definitely ask Laura. She's got some more information on what the pad looks like, so she could probably email that to you.
And I don't know if you know where the sites are, she could email you the different sites and you could scope them out. And maybe if there's one that you think might even be better for your piece, or, you know, you
Yeah.
could,
Make a recommendation.
make a recommendation and go to that spot, but, or anyway, you could see the different spots and that might help a little bit with your
The
vision of
size,
how the, you
yeah.
know, how big and everything. Did we lose him?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Are you there?
Yep, I must have lost you or something.
Yeah.
I was just saying that Laura can send you the locations where the where we're doing this, and then you could scope those out, and that might help you determine how big you want, and if there's a location that you think might be better than others, you could make that recommendation when you show us your final product that you want to
Yeah.
do.
And ideally, if you could sketch it out for us, once you have an idea of your size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll definitely have to go take a look at these different locations, because that'll give me a better understanding of
Exactly, the size.
what I
Yeah.
want to do.
Yeah.
Is there a time frame of when this has to be done?
No,
No?
no,
No?
no.
no, it's whenever you're inspired.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Yeah.
We're here to promote art, and that's you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you could send me those addresses of those places, I mean, I'm in a spot right now where I could start going on this pretty soon, so.
Awesome.
Well, I'll go look at those, I'll draw that up, and then I'll send you over an email, or I'll come down there and show you what I have thought.
Perfect.
What I want to build.
Thank you.
Yeah. And keep in mind, you want to sell this, so you want to keep that in mind too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get your
something
name
that-
on a placard or some way to say that it's for sale too.
Yeah.
So is the final name three-dimensional cubes, or are you gonna, I don't know.
What's the question?
Okay.
What's the question?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if you're gonna baptize it with a name. You're an artist, I'm just curious.
What the name would be of the piece?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not sure, I haven't thought about that yet.
You got time, you got time.
You got time, just
Yeah.
curious.
Okay. Thank you, Brian.
All right, thank you very much, Brian.
Is there anything you wanted to add or any questions for us?
No, that should do it, that's a lot more clear for me right now, so that's perfect.
Thank
So,
you.
so is it clear that you still want to work with us, or?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Yeah.
sounds good.
Thanks, have a good day.
Have a good
All
day.
right, you too.
Bye.
Motion to close the floor.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
against?
So, Do we need action on this?
He's going to scope, right?
to hold or what?
Approve.
Well, we have to,
Contingent upon his final design submission with measurements and dimensions and stuff.
So moved.
and second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? All right, motion moved.
Awesome.
All right, number 3, discussion with possible action on approval of the updated guidelines and procedures for the annual grants program.
Oh, okay.
And that is located right here, and right behind it?
Yep.
Okay.
So basically this lists out, the first part is kind of what has already been set up for the annual grants program. This is what's on our website. This was kind of a chance, this is basically my brain vomit. Going through the scoring of the annual grants projects that we had, I think it may be in our best interest to actually have deadlines set up for the grants. That way we can kind of see like, all right, we have this much funds, rather than as pieces come in, like, oh, it's a really great project, here's some money, and then 2 months down the road, we get another project that comes forward, and they're like, oh, sorry, we gave all our money away.
Yeah.
So I'm saying maybe we could have 2 deadlines, one in the spring and then another one in the fall.
Right. That's a good idea.
And it helps artists as well, you know, if there's film festival deadlines, we all know it already in our heads. So it just keeps us on it.
Right.
So.
And I do like the recommendation of presenting at that meeting following the submission. So if they know that that expectation is there.
Is there,
Yep.
right.
Whether it's a phone call or
Yeah.
that's,
This does kind of draw out the process a little bit, just that it comes to us and then we pick like the 3 and then from there, then they come and present and then it's like another, so it's like 2 months then basically. So I don't know, I looked at Madison's program for what they do. Basically, they'll come, like I would send you all of the submissions. From there, you would kind of look them over and decide like, all right, like these are maybe like my top 3. And then they just invite, they have an open invitation to all the applicants. If they want to come to the meeting and speak, they can. So then it's open floor, they speak on their piece or project. And then they actually decide at that meeting and then it goes to council for approval. But we don't have to get approval, or at least that's kind of what I'm hoping. So I don't know if we'd want to do something like that, having it that they can come at that same meeting, or if you'd rather set it up, like, we pick these 3, we want to hear from these 3 specifically, or these 5, however many.
So the process is that we typically want to listen to everybody, and then we would pick the ones that we like, right?
Right,
To narrow
I would
down
rather
the
pick
field.
after the
done
presentation,
the
because there might be something in
presentation.
the presentation that,
It's a red
Speaks
flag
more
or
than a
something that
paper.
really highlights the benefit, you
Yeah.
know, of community,
Good
and
idea.
then,
yeah.
so ideally, everyone comes to speak, which might be a really long meeting if we have a ton of submissions, but that would then just be once. And then we would filter through and then pick our, you know, it's like a soccer game.
Yeah, it's always, I think for me, it's, I love to hear from the artists themselves.
Right.
They might inspire us, or like you said, red flags will appear, and it'll make my decision process easier.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that might be best.
So do we have to, are we trying to figure out the process right
Yeah.
now?
Yeah,
This is just potential changes.
to the existing program definition or guidelines.
Also, we want to make sure that the PAC can manage and kind of coordinate the application, so we kind of get to decide if it's going through. We don't want council to have to approve it every time, because that draws it out
Even
more.
further. Although when, so we have so now what you're proposing is that we have, so the actual program itself doesn't change, but the administration of the program to change, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, everybody has to submit it by a certain day in spring or fall, right? So we have 2 deadlines a year. And then those who submitted their proposal must come and present at the following meeting after the deadline, right?
Yep.
Okay, all of them, correct?
Now, could we break that out? Would that be, I mean,
Like
we
3
give like a
this time, 3 this
couple,
time,
because
3 this
maybe
time.
people might have problems making it, you know, be a little more flexible. Does that matter, do you think, or
Or we can have 2 proposed presentation days,
2?
right? So that way we have maybe 1 special meeting that spring or fall, right? So in 1 week, they'd have to either come Tuesday, Thursday, so they pick one of the 2 days, morning. So that would be considered a special meeting, because we'd have to listen to so many proposals. Then that way they get 2 days out of the week to pick. But I think that they should be done fairly close to each other, because the chances of you, or, you know, that everyone writes their notes and whatever, and then you revisit it 4 weeks from then. But are you
Right.
really going to be having those thoughts fresh in your mind, you
Right.
know? So that's something that you might, now this is all you guys.
Well,
So if you guys.
if you were part of it, would you
consider-
think that was
I think that what I would want is to have a presentation week, right? Where people, artists can come, or organizations can come and pick a day, like maybe it's Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, but there's a gap in between to breathe. And then you come in, you listen to the presentations. People just have to make themselves available if they're asking for money, right?
Mhm.
Because if it was any other Wednesday morning, they'd still have to show up. So I think that's important. But then having them relatively, ideally in the same week, will help you guys process that and be able to keep your scores in check, so you're not feeling really great one day and then feeling really horrible the next day, so it's skewed on what you hear. You know, ideally your week goes pretty smooth and you can be able to, grade these things on an even feel.
Does that work for everybody to do
This pitch.
a special,
Yeah, like a special.
do two,
Yeah, it would be a special.
have 2 meetings in 1 week? Would that be difficult? Or
Right.
would that work for everyone, pretty much?
I think if we know ahead of time.
Right, exactly.
It would be twice a year. So
Twice a year.
I listed March and September.
Right, so if
which-
they knew, now, I do believe September might be tricky for them, only because school starts September, and March would be Easter break. So I think you gotta work around some of those.
Yeah, we could bump them like October and
I believe, right, so
April.
February is fairly quiet, right? And then you have, so we have August was quiet too, right? And those might actually be better for the artists too, but yet giving you enough time between to decide those things.
That doesn't necessarily need to be 6 months apart.
Well, if you're gonna do proposals, you gotta keep them kind of,
That-
yeah,
Yeah.
so people have the chance to prepare for the next one if they miss the spring one, then they can still do fall.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So we're adding this pitch into this guidelines? Is
Yeah,
that what we're
exactly.
discussing?
mhm. So then, at that point, so everyone's pitched, right? So you guys have your grades, everything comes in, you have your scores, and then, I see that you've got like this, so then you want the members to have a deadline too, to submit their scores to you?
Yep.
Okay. That does not go on here. Right? Okay.
That would be kind of internal.
Internal, okay. So what are you thinking? Like, how soon do you want everyone to give your feedback?
Ideally, probably like a week
After
and a half
presentations?
before the next meeting at the
Oh, a week and a
latest.
half before the next meeting.
Just so I have time to
Right.
Process.
collect
Yeah.
it and kind of like what we did for this one.
Mhm.
I think I asked for
That makes
it like
sense.
on the 11th.
That gives us
Right.
a little time, and,
To think.
because if we get a lot, it might take a little bit to.
Right, exactly.
And I would do that Google form. There'd be
That's
separate
nice.
Right,
forms
that was
for
really
each
good.
one.
That was
so
good, that was good.
It's a little rocky, but,
No, I,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
and then I will have like a separate one, so this is the collage
So-
project, this is the.
I did I was speaking with Kent the other time, and I don't know if he mentioned that to you, but he actually said about how we wanted to keep scores, we didn't want to put scores out there, but that, every person should know their score, and then give just a simple yes or no.
That was the thing that I was gonna ask, because I don't know if we need the scores just for record keeping, as far as like, to back us
Well,
up.
I'd like to know what everybody else scored it.
Well,
I
you
think
know-
that information
Because the
is
scores-
helpful to me.
Well, I think with the humanities, it's like A, B, C. And if it's a C, then it's not really considered. But if it's an A, B, then we have a discussion. So if your points add up to B or to A, then, so you don't have to be so I don't know if the numbers matter more than,
So the difference is though, that this is an open meeting and that
oh,
isn't.
so if
Right.
they're both, if there's certain rules, okay, gotcha.
So I did talk about this with the law department, and we can't avoid having these scores be public. We
Right.
can't talk about them in closed session because it doesn't qualify.
Mhm.
So, I think that if a score doesn't meet a certain threshold, which is kind of what we do,
Mhm.
we still
Right.
talk about it at the Humanities
Yeah.
Council, but
Right.
if it doesn't meet a certain threshold, then, we might want to Laura might want to have a conversation with that person to, let's say that somebody gets a D, right? Or, 40% of the possible points. Then Laura might want to have a conversation to redo the application, to basically withdraw the application and resubmit. If Laura feels that score is going to be injurious to the artist's reputation, but we can't
Right.
avoid it not being out there.
Right, so here's what, we were talking about, technically these scores are just for us to be able to, guide through the process. Some of
That
us
is
might.
now an open record.
This is now open record.
Yes.
So we do have to literally fill this out.
Yes.
Submit it for every piece.
Yes.
But what if, a person, so the liaisons and the commissioners all have to submit actual scores.
Yes.
And then we get the weighted score piece here.
Mhm.
Okay, so,
And that's on record, and you need that record.
Yep, that's
Now-
public record.
Now, I have to go back and see if these constitute notes and then the final
Right.
score, that's the open record. So let me find out.
yeah,
if the
so
difference
that would
between those
be,
two
I
things.
think, imperative. Like, for example, and I'm gonna put this out there, I scored the Brown County proposal really low. Only because I saw the barrier to, it didn't meet our criteria, it was barrier to entry, there was no real financial support there. How is this public art? It's so temporary, it wasn't really it didn't have longevity. It did have originality, the experience was there, but not the budget, or the,
Do we want to save this for?
public art value.
Yeah,
That item.
you gotta wait for that. for that item.
Okay, no, but what I'm trying to say is, at that point, but that doesn't hurt. But that didn't mean that I wanted to vote either yes or no. So
You
how
can
is-
score something low and still vote yes.
Yes, because you see the intrinsic value of that event to the city and feel that even though it might not match our rubric 100%,
Right.
I have a feeling that it might be worth
Funding.
funding.
Right, so which is.
how do you do that?
Right, so that's why I would think, I would not want, unless it scores abysmally low, I would want to still discuss every piece.
Right, and you don't actually have to discuss your score. You can say, so let's say that somebody gets a 90 out of 100. You don't have to say, I gave this person 90 out of 100. You could say, here are all the things that I think are great
Yeah.
with
Okay.
this piece. Here are all the reasons why
The
I
challenges.
gave
Okay.
the scores, but you don't have to mention your score.
I was
And
gonna
that-
say, because sorry,
No, go ahead, Laura.
I left the,
Names.
it's just member.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Um,
yes.
Which member am
I
I?
think the scores,
The one with the
at
bad
least
jokes.
in my opinion, I think the scores are for record keeping. It's paperwork. for
Okay,
me.
but that's
But
not a
like the
reflection
real
on the
decision is
organization.
gonna come from the discussion that you guys have here.
Right. But then that score is not a reflection on that organization or that person. It just has to be on that piece that was submitted and its direct correlation to our mission.
Yeah, maybe we need to
Then
make
you
it
need to put that on
clear.
the top of the score when they see that.
Yeah,
This
I
is
think
public
that's
information.
imperative. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And,
You know,
fine.
I've done multivariate analysis, or we have scoring in hospital
Yes.
things,
Yeah.
where,
Yes.
like a rehab score of your upper motor neuron strength.
Yeah,
You have to validate the scores, because it's maybe not linear,
Right.
And to make a score numeric value out of this has to do with how you combine data that's linear and nonlinear, and I'm not, because, some of these things may vote, everybody's going to 90 because they're scoring, or they aren't separate entities. Like upper extremity, lower extremity, bottom bladder, they're clearly distinct dimensions.
Right.
Okay, so these things may actually not,
yes, clear.
there's a statistical way you have to do that. When I see scores that are very varied, you're wondering why that is. And I see that because my different therapists score them differently. So we go through the whole education process. Here, you're gonna be a scorer, here's how we do it, here's the dimension, here's we do it. You test
Yeah,
it a couple
parameters,
times.
yeah.
That's kind of a bigger deal. That being said, we want, try to objectify in some way, but if I'm an artist coming in, I want to say, hey, there's this kind of scoring of the matrix, there's the discussion, that's how we make a decision, and it's all put in context.
Right.
Because most of these things have to do with public art,
Piece,
you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Impact.
It's hard to be a judge. it's hard to make resource allocations. We're trying to do it rationally, but it's not a perfect form. Unless, did you get this validated, or is this something we came up on our own too, by the way?
So we came up with.
I mean, it's a nice stab in that direction.
We can-
Fundamental basis through other programs that exist
Right.
Okay.
in the nation.
I don't want to reinvent the wheel on that, but you know, when
Right.
you're doing a new scoring system, is it validated, or how do people
Right.
score? You sit and look back at, like, how those film scores work, or they're,
Right.
like, some of these things are imposed up by the government, they're not any better than, you know, what we come up with, but.
And is our rubric
Sorry,
public?
sorry.
So that
No,
the
I'm not
artists know
criticizing,
what
it's-
we're
it's-
scoring on it? Okay, yeah. And I think we just make it known that, you know, we have a rubric, we have specific things we're looking for, but that's only one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
That's,
And-
And I think
and-
we need to make that clear.
Yeah, that's very clear.
that gets you off the hook for,
Yep.
this is the only thing, and
Yep,
this is
yep.
up.
But
Right.
for the purposes of the city government,
Yes.
that's gotta be clear, we need to have this.
Verbiage.
So I will make sure that I find out from the law department if that individual score is an open record, or rather it's notes, or if it's the final score and discussion, that's the open record.
Right. I think that would be.
I think that we could probably make that notes, but I just gotta double check that.
So,
Like to be clear.
um,
The application, though, is definitely an open record.
Yeah, well, that has to be, yeah.
yeah.
And what we do is we redact people's personal information. Artists' personal information.
Even the city, the whole thing really is gonna be. It's not your own private foundation or anything like that,
Right.
you know.
Instead of redacting, can we just substitute like Mickey Mouse and?
So do we need any further discussion on this?
So I guess my understanding is we'll still do the form that I send you guys,
The rule book.
get like the paperwork part that's needed.
Mm-hmm.
Real decisions are gonna happen here,
Mhm.
when you guys talk about it.
Yes.
Is that also when you're gonna, how are you gonna decide like the final funding amount? Is it kind
I
of
think
an
that's gonna
average
happen
pooled?
through conversation.
Okay,
Right.
So,
I just wanna get this set before we start.
I think we
bringing
pick
in
the
I think
pieces,
that's a good
and then
idea.
we'd have the discussion of how much to fund the pieces. So, you know,
right.
once we got the pieces picked, how much we're gonna put to each one.
Right, especially because the nice part is now by having these deadlines, we can actually see how much we have and then
Mhm.
allocate funds necessarily.
Mhm.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
And then we're also making sure that we are managing and coordinating the program.
Right.
All right,
Do we take any action on that? Okay.
I think we need to approve it with the change.
Motion to
Well,
approve.
we need input
We
still.
still need to wait until we know for sure what exactly is the, what's record.
Right.
How can we approve something we don't know what's going to be?
Record.
We can,
Recording.
yeah, exactly.
Well, we could hold it, or we could make a motion to, well, we'd still want to maybe have a discussion. Well, what,
Why don't we,
we can't, there's nothing to discuss, because if it is, it is, and if it isn't, it isn't.
Right, that's
Yeah.
true too.
Right.
It would just be like contingent.
Well,
It's
I
not
don't even know if we
contingency
need.
either.
Yeah,
It's
because,
just, with the amendment, or with the amendment that comes back from Celestine on this open record, closed record issue.
yeah. So it'd be a motion to approve the changes with the addition of whatever further information Celestine
Can,
provides to us.
that's right.
But then are you also changing, because the print, if you're accepting this, you're changing it to February and August instead of March and, or September.
Right, that is correct.
So,
The
February and
date-
August,
The
yeah.
dates, right, so the process and the dates will be updated, so we're making a motion to approve it with the updated process, the updated dates, timeframe, and to include the information that Celestine can bring.
I'll second that.
And
I'm sorry, I'm gonna add one more thing.
Okay.
And I don't know if this is a discussion later, but as far as when you talked about the library, I didn't see an artist attached to it.
Right, that's the reason.
Yeah, I think we discussed that when we covered
Yeah,
So
the
that's
library.
does that
next
have to
one.
be in the guidelines?
Oh,
Oh, that the artist, like for example, today, the artist did show up with, that we want the artist And sometimes it could be whole
Or no,
organization,
just-
like the teachers.
Just that that there's an artist attached to a specific project. Not that they, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it sounds like we're giving the library this.
Right.
And
as
I would
well.
have liked to have heard,
Uh-huh.
because we're supporting artists, I would like to hear the library says, we have an artist on board, just like for the humanities, we're in a,
Many scholars.
we need.
Yeah, so so I was gonna say, I mean, we don't wanna be limited to artists because
Right.
humanities
Oh, that's
folks
true.
are.
But that wasn't presented either.
Right, yeah. So there needs to be a
Yeah, that
scholar or an art, I mean, a writer is certainly an artist.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Literary,
Yep,
literary.
Yep,
You
yep,
know,
yep.
so I just wanna make sure that you're thinking artist, scholar,
Yeah.
writer.
Musician.
Right.
kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Or musicians,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
artists to me,
Yeah,
so.
they're all artists.
It's
Anybody who
it's
creates something
literary
in our
Scholars
performance.
are different.
Yeah, and
so-
visual.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that verbiage has to be here, or maybe, or are we just taking it for granted? I'm just,
Okay, so my concern comes in when a group of people come in and it's a collective of individuals who might want to create art. They've never maybe done it before, and yet it's an interesting idea. And they're looking to submit for money. So at that point, if they want grant money, then are we saying, well, no, one of you there in this little group of maybe housewives have to have had art, musician, scholar, you know, like, are we taking this, and I understand having, well, we are here to support public art. Now, who wants to put that on? You know, it depends on your proposal, right? I mean, I think it shouldn't be limited to, like, well, if you've never done this before and it's not your profession, then I don't want it.
Yeah, we're not building capacity.
Right.
That's not good.
Right,
Right.
so we want to be fair, equal, open to all individuals that are ready and willing to further public art here in Green Bay, be it in humanities, performance, or visual arts. So I think at that point, we have to ask ourselves, putting that verbiage in here, we can say, would, like, if you really wanted to have that aspect, well, we already asked for their experience. So at that point, we're already looking at whether or not this is going to be something worth considering. But I think it really has to be on a case-by-case basis. I mean, sometimes you really get that genius who all of a sudden comes out of the woodworks, right? Or
Where they come from?
I just put it out there.
Yeah, and that's good. That's a really good question. And yeah, I go back and forth on that. But I think that, you know, to be open to all,
Republic, I agree.
it could be a bunch of 15-year-olds who show up
Right.
from high school. And
Right.
they're like, we want to do this. And,
Mhm.
you know, I want to support it, but how?
Mhm.
You don't have any professional with you.
Mhm.
No.
But the rubric and the guidelines are very specific about supporting the artist.
Yes.
So
and
that's where I find the disconnect.
Yes. That's where my disconnect came in through that. Oh, not
So if you
not
look
the
at,
rubric.
even with the proposed changes to the administration side of how to process the applications, what has been adopted previously is specifically talking about
The artist.
the artist.
Yes, so maybe that's
you
the
want
language that we
to
need to.
change it?
Yes, we have to revisit and say, did the individual has effectively presented or, but this is not this one, but, you know, like we'd have to change, or did the submitter, or not submitter, or like, you know, they have to change that.
To what?
Right, so we need to find that word that can include a person, a few people, or organization.
The applicant?
The applicant, there you go. Yep, exactly. So if we could update that, that would be appropriate, and give more scope to musicians and to the humanities. I think that's appropriate. And the humanities, yeah. So do we need, do you want to rework that and then bring it back so that we can just see it, or?
Or do we decide on it now, or do we get all this information? I would love to hear Kent's point of view as well, you know.
I guess how is this gonna work if we're deciding on this stuff now? This is how we want the program to be set up. Now we're gonna vote on programs right
Yep.
away before this even gets approved.
Right.
How did,
What comes first?
can we actually do that?
Well, we could, yeah, because we could change. I mean, we could, we've got, what we used a rubric, and we could go with that rubric to make decisions on what we've got before us already. Now we're making changes. I mean, as we go along, we're gonna change, we're gonna
Yeah,
evolve.
we
The democratic
Yeah.
process is fluid and changes.
Exactly.
What we vote for this
Yes.
week in
Right.
government could be done
So-
next week.
So
Right.
We're trying to create a rational process
Right.
that's open to public scrutiny.
Actually, you're crazy.
Some,
Good.
Yeah.
So, I think we could just vote on the changes
Make
now.
a motion to change the word artist to the
Applicant.
applicant, on both,
Rotating
the
and-
rotating arts program and the annual grant program, to be more inclusive.
And who's seconding that?
I'll second it.
All right, all those that approve? All those-
Aye.
Aye.
All those against? Motion approved.
Correct.
So you got the whole motion?
Is that also including
The changing of the dates
The
and everything
dates.
else, that was all.
And then
plus
Celestine's
managing and
feedback.
coordinating the
Yep.
program?
Mhm.
Okay.
That whole motion,
The whole motion.
that whole motion.
All right.
Beth, are you comfortable with that?
I think you have to be consistent. I think, you know, you set up the rubric and applications came in. We have to score those based on the existing rubric.
Okay.
We recognize that there were challenges with that.
Yeah.
You're making the adjustment.
Yeah.
We're putting the timeline in place. You know, I'm just really always concerned about the funding mechanism and ultimately that's, you know, so how do you make sure that both pieces are moving? So I think we learned a lot this first round.
Mhm.
I think the changes are important because then it does allow a little bit more clarity.
Mm-hmm, I think so. I also found that somehow in our conversation with Brian, he wasn't quite sure what exactly he was submitting for. Did you find that?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we have to improve the language on that at some point. So maybe at some point we want to revisit how we actually pitch to people.
It almost sounded like he thought he was
Making a piece for
for the
us.
public, yeah.
Yeah.
The annual grant instead of the rotating,
So-
it sounded like.
Now, we have to understand that we do require people to read before they submit.
They know what they're submitting for.
Whether or not they do that, we can't control that. We can only control what we say. So let's just read it through, make sure that it actually says what we say we are doing.
And I'm wondering, once we go through one process, that we could create a more informational.
Peace.
For instance, here's a project, and this is the process it went through, and I don't know if it's via paper, or it can be photographs, or, you know, it's something visual. You know, it's fluid, as we were saying, just, you know, even the communications of it.
I think so.
But, and there was this, this one artist that just didn't get it, and everybody else is getting it, you know?
Right, we're not gonna know.
Right,
This is
right,
our
right,
first,
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, yeah, keep making those adjustments as we go. Okay, so next,
Next, number 4, a discussion with possible action on the annual grants requests from Brian Simon,
yeah, now I
North
can.
County Library.
Now we're gonna talk.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Lay it out there, lady.
Well, okay, so this is where I felt like there was a challenge to the rubric, right? I loved the idea of bringing something out here, especially that has a big city feel, right? And the only thing that bothered me so much was that it was indoors, it was closed doors, and I know the library is an open space, it's open to the public, but typically there's only, I mean, there's a difference between being out on the street and anyone can see it, and being inside closed doors where people have some issues going behind doors. So that, when I went through the rubric, that was what I found. Even with an outside piece, or an outside, we had discussed whether or not there was an element of outside.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
thinking of putting some outside.
Right,
Yeah.
so I don't know, did you hear back at all? Whether they said anything about whether or not something can happen
I
outside?
haven't heard anything.
The
Okay.
NEH, none of that can go outside.
Okay.
None of the NEH stuff that's traveling.
But maybe
here.
some of the
Yeah,
Bay Beach
that's-
stuff.
The, you know, they would have to create something specific to outside
Right.
that it has to be insured and in an environmentally controlled area.
That's what I thought. So in the grand scheme of things, even though I loved it, you know, I would have been so excited to see it, I just don't know if it's applicable to the annual grant program. Does that make sense? Not that I didn't like it.
Right.
I'm putting it out there, public record. But I just didn't think that it was annual, that monies from the annual grant program could actually fund that project.
So Pooja, let me ask you a question.
Yeah,
Since it's winter 6 months of the year here,
yeah.
what does that do for any kind of
Outside pieces.
non-sculpture
Yeah.
or
Right.
mural?
That was something I was challenged, you know, that's why even though it scored so low, I still thought if there was a way, could we still do it? But I don't know, I don't know if this is the right place to do it, because by reading everything that we're about and what we're here to fund, I didn't know how that, if our definition became a challenge to work with.
Or is this a case by case?
Well, I think, here's my observation, both applicants, we both came away as a group asking them to do other things than what they're proposing.
Yeah, exactly.
You asked them to do other things
Yeah.
at their proposal, and were they willing? Yes.
Yes.
But that was not the intent of their proposal.
Nope.
I meant to make that comment, because
Yeah.
I walked away thinking, gosh, I'm trying to get a grant and you're asking for 10 other things. and-
Exactly.
and, yeah.
Yeah, and that shouldn't be the case. Someone should come in here, make a proposal, it's either yes or no. It should be pretty clear whether or not they're gonna get money from a grant. Because there's gonna be 100 people at some point wanting to come in and get money, and we can't tell everyone to adjust it so we can give them money. What we need to do is be selective and think about who's gonna get the money.
Sounds like
Because there's like
great would be great.
so many people out there that do
Foundation,
have
they
other
do the same
grants that are
thing.
more
Yeah.
applicable for their type of event. And that was what became tricky, right? Because anyone from the Schneider Foundation or the Shopko Foundation could see this as a great way to bring more culture or activity to the Green Bay area, and they could sponsor it. So our 1,500 isn't really gonna be applicable to that, but I wanna stay true to the guidelines.
So the way that you're interpreting the guidelines really limits any kind, and your point is well taken, because we should either give them money
Right,
for the activity as presented.
right,
And not try to change it.
no,
Right? But, you know, I think what specifically is hanging you up? Is it barrier to, because inside shouldn't hang you up. It's winter 6 months of the year here.
I know.
So, I mean, inside shouldn't be an issue.
My specific concern, if you're looking at the rubric, was there is no regional artist. Yes, art is coming as part of the traveling exhibition, and it's high-quality art, but there is no artist attached to it.
That was.
I shouldn't say anybody can coordinate an exhibit, that's not necessarily to our gallery show. However, this one,
But who's the scholar,
and
who's the
when we
artist?
asked in the interview about the programming and the marketing, it sounded like the library staff is predominantly doing the programming. So,
Right.
you know, even if it was clearly saying, yes, we're partnering with the Art Garage, or yes, we're partnering with this mural artist, and this programming is gonna collate with it,
Mm-hmm.
their programming wasn't set.
No. That's.
And
was
so
the
you
problem.
didn't have a regional, or even a Wisconsin, let's just take it as a Wisconsin connection.
Mhm. Even though it was good for the community, I just didn't think it was furthering public art in Green Bay
Or humanities.
or humanities.
Why?
Because the individuals that were going to be providing that experience, I just didn't see how the monies from our grant that we would be providing them, or rather how this grant would actually would make an impact on the experience for the city. I mean, what I'm saying is, I didn't see how, if we gave them 1,500, but she had mentioned a lot of that was gonna go into marketing, how that was going to impact the community's experience of this event.
Okay,
Okay, am I
so,
saying that clear?
yep.
Okay.
So then, did we say, because there've been so many iterations
Yeah.
of this, did we say that they could use the money for marketing?
In the current guidelines, it doesn't exclude marketing. It
Right.
excludes travel, it excludes
Royalties?
royalties, refreshments.
Right.
It
No
excludes.
refreshments?
No refreshments, no prizes or awards, no scholarships, no tuition, no permanent equipment, no travel outside of Green Bay, no refreshments, no debts incurred for past activities.
Right.
Right,
So that doesn't exclude marketing.
right.
So why shouldn't someone, given the way it's currently written,
Mhm.
since we didn't exclude marketing,
Right.
then.
I don't know that we want to exclude marketing.
No, I'm not saying that we want exclusively, first of all, he said no matter whether or not we give the money or not, that this is going to happen. That was like, okay. And then the other part was, well, we don't really have our budget set, we don't really have anything. And then Beth made the comment, well, you know, how much is gonna go into,
Marketing versus
Marketing?
programming.
yeah, and he's like, well, probably most of it will go there. And I'm like, okay. Then I'm thinking, well, we only have a certain amount to fund. And we had 2 presentations that day. And I'm like, which of the 2 do I feel, and this is my own personal opinion, how is that going to, like, you know, how is that 1,500 really going to impact the community? And
So then,
it kept running
we
back
would
and
need
forth.
to make it more clear, right?
Right.
So then we would need to say, so this is one thing that we didn't have, which is a budget. Like the Humanities
Yeah.
Council, they have to show how they're gonna use
Use
Wisconsin
it.
Humanities Council money, and they have to
Right.
show that they have matching money. Matching money generally, not matching money for specific line items.
Right.
So once again, moving forward, I think that's a change that Laura and I can work on, and then Laura can present to you at a future meeting. But given what is there right now, right, we didn't say no marketing.
No, we didn't, that's true.
So do we,
And maybe it's the fact that the artist isn't attached, even though we're gonna say applicant, neither an artist nor a writer nor a scholar is attached to this, maybe that is more of a sticking point than not. And like I said, I think you're gonna have to really have some thought about, some conversation about whether or not something inside could be funded by the Humanities Council, because we're doing stuff between May and October.
The Humanities Council?
I'm sorry,
Oh, I was
the
like.
Public Arts Commission.
Okay,
Yeah, like-
is the Humanities
Sorry.
Council,
Yeah,
and I don't know if this is applicable, is the Humanities Council supporting this program?
they
Yes.
did not make an application.
I don't know.
Not for
Saying that.
local, but they did get, in the budget presentation, they did get the $1,000 from NEH. National.
Oh, okay, for the national,
No, but
endowment
not
for
the
the
Green
humanities.
Bay.
Or
No, no, it's
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin
Oh, Wisconsin
Humanities
Humanities
Council,
Council.
right, so yeah, I didn't see, that doesn't
But
mean
if
that
your
they're not
sticking
gonna-
point is the budget, where in the rubric, because I had issues with that, the question is, does the artist's budget, so even if it changes the applicant's budget, align with the GBPAC? Did the applicant artist include paying him or herself in the total? No.
No,
But I can't remember, I didn't.
So for me, my sticking point is the applicant and being a artist or humanitarian, humanities. I would just, that's my sticking point.
Yeah, I don't mind. So.
That there should be, that the applicant is identified with an artist or a humanities person.
And if you're really going to the rubric as existed budget, weak is budget lacks required information or includes unallowable expenditures. Budget is complete but not cost effective and or related to activities and outcomes. Budget is complete and contains all required information. Budget is cost effective and linked to project activities and outcomes. We definitely did not have
Nothing.
an excellent scoring
no,
budget.
exactly. It was very, very low. In fact, I don't think, the only thing we had to go on budget was literally these numbers right here. He did not
Okay.
give, anything else
Or
beyond.
south, where the other applicant had, even though it was a huge scope of a budget,
Right.
still had
A budget, right, exactly. Exactly, that, you know, this is what I was expecting
Yep.
Great.
from here.
See you in a bit.
Are we still on
And I
the
think-
Friday,
I
Friday
think
movie or what?
Eventually,
Thank
you'll
you
have
so
to
much.
include, because humanity, like
Hopefully.
Wisconsin Humane Council
Won't be
has an
soon.
active
Thank you
grid
so
where
much.
you
Oh,
have
thanks.
to
Yep.
plug it
Thank you.
in, and it's,
Yep.
you
Don't
know,
forget
a
to check.
mathematical file where
Yep,
it,
I'm gonna get very far. Hold up there.
Take a donut.
So are we undecisive here, or what's, I'm not sure.
I don't get to vote.
So what, are we deciding on, are we voting right now, or what are we doing?
I think we're voting right now, right? And
Take a tissue. Take the hand.
Okay, so the,
I already had one. My donut is big enough.
You know, quorum with 3 of you.
yeah,
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 okay, so, based on the scores that we have here, it's ironic that even though Southwest High School was able to provide more information to us, that Brown County had a higher average score. Uh-huh. What do you guys think?
Well, my scores are, I mean, I've never done anything like this,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know, I mean, my scores are kind of, let's consider that a soft score. And, on this project, I think, overall, my impression on this project was I was less enthused because I thought it was not a project. I want to be more concerned with helping out those who need help,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not sure they need a lot of our help.
Well,
And,
they've been that clear.
yeah, and,
He literally said, this is gonna happen whether or not you give me the money or not.
right,
I mean, that was for me. I was like, come on, you don't go into a job interview and say, I'll be fine if you give me that job or not.
yeah.
Why are you here then? You know?
Yeah, and I think it's a great, you know, it's a good thing for Green Bay to have this exhibit.
Mhm.
I think it's great. I think I'd really like to see more national exhibits coming through, you know,
Mhm.
but I am not real big on this project. And I wouldn't mind maybe giving them a little money if, you know, as a way to promote the
commission.
commission, the cultural experience.
Mhm.
Because I think that any cultural experience improves the artistic level of our community. I think especially a national one, you know, it's nice to,
Mhm.
so, but you know, there's a lot of things that you brought up in the discussion that, you know, in my head, I didn't. But now I really, you know, appreciate. So, my feeling is, if we did decide to go with this, I would not want to give them 1,500. I'd want to make it, you know, 500 or something. I'd want to make it a token appreciation, and I don't know if we have the funds to do that right now. You know, that's another consideration. We are getting to the end of the year, though. We do have money, you know, I don't know how much, you know, yeah. So,
But the way your funding mechanism was set up for the commission is it rolls over
Exactly.
as part of the
Alright,
So
okay.
fiscal
whatever we
year.
don't give out this year still can be given out
yeah,
next year.
Okay.
So my concern with this is that, you know, this is one of the first two that we received, submissions, right?
Mhm.
One is from a huge organization that receives city funding already to provide a space for the community to go and have experiences. The other one is a public school, which also receives money, maybe a lot less.
Mhm.
Both receive taxpayer funds.
Right.
Yeah.
And yet, we haven't received that application, you know, from an entity that's not being supported right now by taxpayer funds. And I found that very ironic. However,
When you know there's money, organizations are going to figure out a way if they can apply or not.
because what would stop the Neville from saying, hey, I'm gonna bring in somebody and we're gonna have an exhibition, she could apply for one every week.
It's
No?
conflict of interest, you know.
Well, besides that, she could,
Yeah.
right? But
Yes.
how is that different from this Coney Island exhibit? How is that different from what she
It's
does
not.
every month?
Right, it's not.
That's what I don't understand. Why are we giving them money here and yet then we should be giving them $1,500 every month? So that's where I was like, oh my gosh, why is this happening right now? Because I was so excited to have an application. Coney Island seemed like a great thing, but there were so many things lacking in this application, and I felt that it wasn't the right fit. So I was like, all right, what do we do now?
I think the challenge you have as a commission is you're setting precedents.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I kind of I stressed with Kent, was I knew he wasn't going to be here, but it's
Yeah.
the decision you make now is going to follow the
Right,
commission
right.
going forward.
Right.
Right.
So you've already recognized, and as a commission, we're improving a lot of the process and administrative side, especially now that Laura is on board. So that's my concern, is it is public funds,
Mm-hmm.
and
And so limited of it.
as we rate it, you know, what they're both, if you did your ABCD, you're technically, you know, FD land.
Yeah, you really are.
So,
So it sounds like a nay to me.
It does seem like that.
Yeah.
Even, and honestly, just putting a little bit of money just for, promoting something, I still don't think that little bit of money is gonna really,
well, and then you're gonna have
Right.
other organizations
They do
coming
the
to you
same
and
thing.
say,
hey, can I
Yeah.
have that 200
you know,
that
what would
needed?
stop, say, a coffee shop that's, you know, hanging visual arts in it, saying, well, we want to promote
All right,
that.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, we're public.
Yeah.
yeah.
well, it's a private business and they're closer and their closing times.
And right now, we
They
need,
shut the
and I
door.
think as,
And that was my problem with this place. too.
being you, we need to be credible, you know, and if it's ethical, I want to be known as, these guys are ethical, you know what I mean? It's just,
Yeah.
they have class. We're not desperate, this isn't, we're not in a desperation mood, so I think we ought to decide on,
I mean, there will come a project where it will have the right fit, and I think at that point, we're gonna
Right.
wish that we had all the monies to give that project, because we really see that making an impact on public arts in the Green Bay area. So I think up until that project doesn't cross our path, we just hold out.
and we just have to be better promoters, because they're probably out there.
They are out there.
We're just new at this, but we should stick with our
Guidelines.
guidelines, I think it's.
Okay. So then I guess we're gonna have to say
Motion
thank
to
you.
deny.
Motion to deny. Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry first.
All right.
Well,
It's hard.
I know.
Yeah, well,
It's hard. It's,
Yeah.
So now becomes,
And no, it means no for now.
right, until they
Right,
come
it
up.
doesn't mean no
Right, right.
ever. It's
Right.
just,
Yep,
you know,
And
it's
then they'll
just-
come back with maybe something
Yeah.
more applicable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we want to create those partnerships.
Exactly. So,
So we're going to move on.
Yeah.
Number 5, discussion with possible action on the annual grants from Southwest High School.
This one I was big on.
were you big on the actual event, or were you big on the outside aspect of it?
I was big on everything.
Okay, so
To
this
me, it
is
didn't
where-
need that, actually, it didn't need the outside component. For me, what I'm big on is that it's an original
Piece.
play
Right,
by a local artist,
right.
and it's being produced by
Community members
community members, and,
at a somewhat public forum.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it really did have all those
Right.
yeah. And I think if we can promote original material like this within the community and get young people involved and promote, I think that's what we're here for. I mean, getting people involved, maybe getting kids to stay. This is write your plays here, we'll produce your plays here, so I was really big on this one.
I took my youth from the Boys and Girls Club and we went and we interviewed. We did an interview because we're creating a Where's Your Art program. So we interviewed the artists, and it was really cool. my youth interacting with that youth, and it's like, wow, we're cool, we're artists, you know, what I mean, there's that identity. So, we can encourage a lot more of that,
Right.
that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And they do fit, you know, I think they fit.
Well, one thing that it did score low on was the
The
public aspect of it. Now, if I'm gonna stay true to what I said before, it does not have a public aspect to it.
But-
The community is involved, and not just hired staff getting involved, but the community, here's one problem. It's only open to the students at Southwest High School. Anyone can sign up to
Yeah.
do this, so Rowan can go and.
Yeah, we got tickets. They
No,
said
no, no, to see the play or to participate in it.
Oh, to see the play.
That's where my problem comes.
Oh, so seeing is not participating, is that what you're saying?
Well,
I mean, that's-
that there isn't more public access to participation. It's a limited.
Gosh.
Yeah,
So,
I-
like, if you would want like a talk-back session, or,
No, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
A musical is literally, you have performers, they come, they do the show, and then it's done, right? So this is where performance and sculpture, public art, and humanities, they don't have, one rubric doesn't fit all three categories.
Right.
Because it's not applicable.
Right.
Now, are we saying that the public can interact with the piece? Well, no. How can the public?
For popcorn.
Although more and more performances are
Are
having
public
posts, are
interactive.
having
Yeah.
post
Yes,
conversations, because
exactly.
they're getting it, you know?
Right.
But,
But this proposal, as it stands,
As it stands,
without the
correct.
outside piece,
Right.
lacks that specific point.
right,
But on the whole, it was very good.
right, right, it doesn't fit every box.
No,
Right.
right,
And I don't think
anything can.
or
Yeah.
that's absolutely necessary.
But it's
Right.
closer to our mission.
I think it's a lot closer to our mission.
Yes.
So I'd like to give them 1,500, because it is I don't think I mean, they're publicly funded, yes, but schools,
school
the plays aren't really
yeah.
publicly funded,
No.
and I could
It's the
see them
community, yeah.
And
needing the money.
There wasn't a discussion where they would be flexible enough to do a public?
Yeah,
Right.
but see, that's again. do we
But
wanna
we're
just
adding to it,
go-
Sure,
that's
I
not
got
what it
you.
was originally.
how about this? How about you consider providing a financial with then trading off in, said the program or prints materials or an announcement during the performances that highlight the Public Arts Commission. It may not fit into the donor recognition of Southwest High School,
Mhm,
but if we are truly looking for a mechanism for this commission to get out there in the public,
mhm.
whether it was an insert that went into the
Yeah,
programs
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
said, partially funded. I don't know that you would get an announcement before the performance started,
Mhm.
but you
Some
could
form of.
say that the money is tied to some type of
Every
recognition.
actor should have a placard that says.
Again, Southwest,
Had to.
I'm assuming every school or how the district, does their fundraising, their, just like the Neville has a sponsorship level and a different level of recognition, depending on what that amount is. But that would be one way that the commission could fund, but also then have that credibility and stipulation going back to the entity.
Mhm.
I'm working with Joe Falls, the legal eagle here.
He's not the legal anymore.
Yeah, he's been changed, but
Yeah.
we were working on forming a contract for the annual grants program, and it does include a part in there that says.
Okay, see, I
If
thought,
we are funding you, you have to include us in your program or
Your logo.
announce it, or whatever your project is, you have to tip a cap to us.
Mhm.
So it is going to be included in there.
I
Now,
thought I remember, that was several months ago.
Yeah.
That was summer at
I
some
know.
point
It
when.
moves
yeah.
slow here.
Oh, no, legal
I-
always moves.
I wonder, if we, and I think that it's important that we don't change their proposals. Even if he doesn't have an outside component, do we still want to go ahead and just fund this?
I do. I'm big on this one.
I think, I think I'm with you on that one. I think,
So,
I'm a yes.
pass the motion?
Motion to approve a $1,500
Grant,
grant.
Second?
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
those against? Motion moved.
We gave out an award, guys.
Our first
I
one!
We
know.
made tough decisions.
On our 1-year anniversary. First 1500.
We're gonna wrap this up quickly. Chairperson's report of bills, no bills, checks, informational chairpersons. Let's see, what did we talk about? I met with Kent. Insurance, we already discussed, that was one of our discussions. The idea of the fundraiser cabinet, Beth's name came up 100 times, and she's so busy, don't even dare to ask her. But the importance of trying to get that cabinet going.
Yes, I
you know,
agree.
and if somebody can help us get started, Beth. And then potential folks, like there's an org called the Power of the Purse.
That's right.
You know, I just want to see more. I want to see more women involved in this field. You know, they're out there, and
Yeah.
I'm
So
sorry,
here's a
I
question.
just-
I believe Cheryl and you were putting together a packet. Is the packet finished?
Nope. We aren't really going to be working on the package. She's busy with RDA stuff at the moment.
Okay.
So we
So
are going to be
this
getting
is-
to that. She told me what we need basically is to find the people who know the people with dollars.
Yes.
Because from
so
there,
I
then
have-
I'm going to be,
so
basically I'll be their staff person then and helping them form the packet. So we need those people first.
Right, so basically, the fundraising cabinet individuals are professionals, and they most likely do not, and I know for a fact that the ones that I've spoken to, do not have the time to sit there and put together a piece for the Public Arts Commission. That is our job.
Yep.
We are supposed to provide the materials to go and find their, to go and get money for us. Now, one of the biggest things is I have people on hold because they need to see something, because these are professionals, before they put their name to it. Now, without that packet, I can't reach out to them. So we need to put together something, and putting together a fundraising packet is not hard. It is a very simple process. It's a letter of intent, right? Our mission, which we have, and our, basically what we're gonna be doing with the money, so our goals. If we have those 3 things in that packet, it can be a digital one, or it could be a physical one. I think that something needs to be put together. Because time is of the essence here.
and it's, but that information is already there.
It truly is. So it's a matter of cutting, pasting, and finessing. Do you think that's something that, okay, have you done this, have you ever put a packet together before?
Nope.
No. If I gave you examples of packets.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, could you put one together then? Perfect. Then,
Is the Greater Green Bay Community Foundation where the money's going?
Yep. But we need to get a chunk set up before
we can go to them.
they'll get involved.
Yeah, because they
Because-
have a minimum.
Minimum, and again, I know that their team is really great about reviewing
Packets.
packets.
Yeah, they will review it. However, that is something they don't do anymore.
Right.
So, what I would suggest is, I mean, really, this stuff is everywhere. If you go to the Neville, they have a packet, right? That they give to potential large donors. And it's just a simple, in some cases, it's a simple trifold sponsorship form. So that's all we really need to put together, just so that people understand what they're supporting and why they're going out there and asking money for this organization. And again, time is of the essence.
No, I definitely know.
Only because.
I'm only part-time though, also.
Oh, I
so
know.
Yep,
it's a little-
Yeah.
a little bit.
So I'm wondering
but-
if there's any out there that can donate time that can do this well, so that you don't have to do it. That's another idea.
I mean, I
sorry,
can work on it.
If there's another entity that can do this for us, pro bono.
Right, so the issue comes in pro bono, right? Short of basically Ken and I providing support up until now, until Laura's come on board. You know, dad, moving.
Yeah.
So that makes it more tricky.
I feel that I can work on this, it's just been busy with the WPS project
Oh,
and these
absolutely.
annual
You
grants,
are-
so like,
you are-
now that we have those kind of like, not that they're settled completely,
Right.
but like,
Mhm.
they're a little more packaged up, we can work on these other things and kind of go from here.
Yeah.
Don't sound like it'd take too much, you know, to give you some examples and stuff, so.
I think it's just some examples.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if we can get somebody from the community foundation to be part of the fundraiser cabinet. We can't?
I don't know. Might be a conflict.
Is that a conflict?
I don't know. I would have to look at their,
Yeah.
because it might be conflict from.
And they're
me as-
all the other, well, not just that, I mean, you think about it, these are organizations who fundraise for other organizations, so if they were sitting on this cabinet when they're pitching,
Right.
but could they have a conflict with the person that they've already asked and provided to another organization? I mean,
Yeah.
it's very gray.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're.
I'm okay with it.
If you're one person that, for example, is passionate about multiple organizations but has no commercial interest in other organizations, then I think that person, as a advocate of something in the community, can fundraise for multiple organizations, so Habitat for Humanity, arts, blah, 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 and I think would be fine, right? But to have people from those organizations sit on this cabinet, I think would be a conflict of interest.
So do we revisit this, or do we have to take an action?
No, you're just a chairman's
It's
report.
just-
Just a
just
chairman's
reports,
report,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So, and we've given some staff direction,
Okay.
and that's,
And the conversation continues.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else? Real quick.
coordinator's report.
Yeah,
Or there's
Who's
the
that?
other Kent stuff.
I don't think there's any other Kent
She's a
stuff.
coordinator.
I think we kind of touched it in general.
She's a coordinator.
Yes.
Yep, yep,
So,
go.
We'll just wrap things up quick. Basically, big things, WPS, figuring out contracts for everything. The next part is really gonna be setting up the contract for the annual grants program, figuring out
Yeah.
payment.
Yeah.
I just got account numbers like
Yeah.
2 weeks ago or so,
Right.
so it's like, now we can actually start on getting this stuff rolling. Also, I went to Oshkosh's Public Art and Beautification meeting, just like this.
Mhm.
They're like 2 years old, so it's kind of interesting hearing what they're doing there.
Mhm.
I felt like a spy almost, but it was cool.
It's open meeting.
Yeah. They're also like inventorying their public art and basically doing a lot of the same stuff that we're doing and trying to model themselves after Appleton.
Appleton.
Yep.
Very good.
Randy, can you motion to end this thing, please?
Motion to adjourn.
All
I
right.
second that.
It's 9:54 and we are done.
Good.
Good job, Alex, you did great.
Thank
You
you.
I'll
survived.
get you some samples.
Beth, I'm gonna see you
Yeah,
tonight. I'm
actually,
bringing
if
some
you look
kids.
online,
Fantastic.
there are.
Fantastic.
I was gonna say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was great, and then
dipped
I
into it, and then
will
I
finally,
but
I just
I
thought of
started
it,
writing
I
up a
didn't have access to it
small-
A
last
little
night,
thing. It
but
just has
we
to be a
have
little
the
thing
50
with,
images
you know,
for
a
our
little,
Brown County, the historic
submission,
images, because we're talking
or,
about rural,